Okay, so the Department of Justice indicted two individuals working for RT and seized several internet domains. They're also alleging that Benny Johnson, Tim Pool, and Dave Rubin are working to interfere with the U.S. election on behalf of the Russian government. Now, this Russian collusion thing has been going on ever since Trump got elected in 2016. And first of all, we all know there's very little evidence that actually shows that there was any real intervention. There's plenty of evidence that there's intervention from the Democratic Party, from the corporate media, from big tech, and a lot of nefarious actors stuffing ballot boxes and all that stuff. But anyway, we also know that the Hunter Biden laptop story back in 2020 was a real story, but the media tried to bury that, saying that that was a Russian disinformation campaign. They had many people in the intel community working for the CIA sign off on it, saying that this is Russian disinformation. And it turns out that it was absolutely a real thing. So anytime the government says that the Russians are interfering with the election, any informed person has learned to take that accusation with a grain of salt, because they've lied about this so many times. There was very little evidence in 2016, aside from some Facebook ads, that the Russians had anything to do with the 2016 election. 2020, the Hunter laptop story was a real thing. It was not Russian disinformation, despite what the CIA and corporate media said. And we also know that in 2020 that there was stuffing in the ballot boxes. There were people that were on the voting rolls that should not have been on the voting rolls, and there was a lot of other shenanigans going on in that election. Of course, you're not supposed to talk about that, but when it comes to ideology, because if it's an ideology that the establishment does not like, they clump it with the Russians. They allege that there's some unholy alliance between anybody who wants small government, or maybe they have a social conservative agenda with the Russian government. Now, the Russians have their own thing going on, and I'm not suggesting that the Russian system is by any means perfect. However, the Western governments, Western Europe, the NATO, United States, the Australia, Canada, New Zealand, United Kingdom, Germany, etc., the Western Alliance, if you will, the liberal Western Alliance, the corporate globalist cabal, really don't like Russia, because Russia has a geopolitical agenda that's very different than what they want. And it's a force enough to be reckoned with. But also, they don't like Americans that are not on board with their agenda. So they clump it together, alleging that there's this big monolithic conspiracy, and that it elicits major governmental action. They're trying to call upon the people who are low information to side with them against this so-called unholy alliance, saying that people like myself, for example, are Russian agents, because I point this nonsense out. And then they try to make Russia look like this is big, bad, monolithic, anti-American, as if it was the new Soviet Union 2.0. And again, I'm not saying that Russia is perfect. But again, because of the history of the dishonesty, because the globalists are by no means anything but compulsive liars, this has to be taken with a grain of salt. And I'll put the link of the article down below for anybody to access this. So it's a load of nonsense. It's tyrannical. It's a violation of people's rights. It's not to protect people's rights. It's the the globalists violating people's rights on a false pretext.